If there were a place in the world where you could store and protect the truth, it might be deep in the Rockies, in a field, on a ranch, in a silo, where an American patriot tells you what keeps him awake at night. Now, here is Medal of Honor recipient Drew Dix and words from the Silo.
Stand up for your countrymen. Don't let anyone drag it down. Yeah, this is your countrymen. We all need a lending hand. Stand up for your countrymen. We all need to understand. Listen back from you and me.
Welcome, folks, to another episode of Words from the Silo. And, you know, like we tell the folks every day, you folks, that what keeps me up at night is not just bothering me. I know it bothering a lot of you. And so we're going to talk about where this country is headed. And I think we're pretty close to falling off the edge of being a democratic republic to maybe a socialistic republic of some kind. But before we get into that, I want to congratulate Brad and his team for the great song that came out, Sippin' Country, that's on the YouTube. You know, I've got a lot of calls because, you know, my face is in there and Ben here is in there too. But it's damn good words. And I've had calls from people saying, for this era of time, we need an anthem. An anthem for working class people. So if you bear with us, there's about 4.5 minutes of Sippin' Country that I think you'll relate to it because you might even see the silo in the background.
Where is he? Aw, man. We gotta go. Let's go. Dude, stop. What's up? It's the hat. Let's go in. Hello?
Hey Brent, this is Drew. You guys coming to the ranch?
Yeah, we picked up some beer and we're rolling your way.
Well, it's about time. This fire's ready to light.
Hey, let's go. Let's go. We gotta go. We gotta go.
Fishing off a bank of my favorite hole, drinking beer with my old pal Joe, reminiscing about girls we've known, sipping country, yeah, hanging out with my boys from school, same old stories, but they still seem new. Some were married, some dreams came true. Sippin' country, sippin' country. Bonfires, bar fights, two-stepping with my baby tonight. We were sippin' country, alright. Working hard, living harder, 2 shots of whiskey, just getting started. We're sipping country for life. Apple pie and burgers on the 4th of July. Old glory flying as we light up the sky. Sparkles glowing in my daughter's eyes. We're sipping country. Summer breeze blowing through her hair. That cotton dress, I can't help but stare. In her eyes, she don't have a care. Sipping country, sipping country. People come from miles around. The blast of the gun is the only sound when they lay that soldier down. We're sipping country, now you're sipping country too. Bonfires, bar fights, two-stepping with my baby tonight. We were sipping country, alright. Working hard, living harder, 2 shots of whiskey just getting started. We're sipping country for life. Bonfires, bar fights, two-stepping with my baby tonight. We were sipping country for life. Whoa, 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 sipping country. Whoa,
So I hope you enjoyed that as much as we do. And I listen to it every day because it gets me going. And I listened to it this morning, and I thought a little bit about our topic that we're going to talk about today. And, we talked about this before, about socialism and where we're headed, because you hear the conservatives mainly saying we're headed to socialism, and other folks. We're already there. Remember, I used the analogy of the oldest profession. It doesn't matter what you charge, you're still one.
Yeah.
And think about all the programs that the federal government is giving to states for work if you can't work, free health care if you can't work, for other reasons besides medical or whatever. I have no problem, incidentally, for the government and us and me with our taxpayer money helping somebody that can't work, that's down and out and has a medical issue. That's it. But to having a lot of 20-something, 30-something people having kids and with no job in horizon, no incentive to actually get one, that's a big problem with me.
Yeah, they have the system. I was watching news last night, and it seems as though, some of those pundits on the news stations were talking about different things with handouts, and then they're sitting there trying to solve it. And okay, you shouldn't be able to buy, candy with your food stamps or this and that. And so they're all sitting there trying to game the system. They don't realize how big of a problem it is, because government has never proven to be able to efficiently implement a system of disbursement, and when they cut it off, and when so a lot of people are incentivized to stay on the rolls and not get a job because they're getting paid too good, and when they do get a job, then they lose all the benefits. So it's really a problem in the way it's designed.
Well, it's a problem whenever we leap from one generation of people that felt that there was no welfare, right? You had to work. There was a shame if you didn't feed your family accordingly, and there was as you could, and there was pride in getting a job. Now I see where some people have a hard time finding workers is because the workers at 18, 19, 20 years old want to start at the top. They want your job, Brad.
Well, they could have it.
All right. Well, money talks, right? But,
yeah.
But no, I think that's our problem. The hell with this pride now. It's a loss of shame. The shame of they even said years ago when I was young, I remember talking about it, that they had welfare, but it was so embarrassing and demeaning to have to stand in line to get your check. So the government made it easy, and they did cards, and then they got debit cards now or something.
Yeah.
And so they want to give people the pride in being an American. And what is that, the American dream? No, the American dream is being able to buy a house and what your family needs, not just to have what Americans have.
Sure.
So.
Well, I told you the story about when I was a coach, and and I know that some of the families that would get food stamps and things like that, they were getting so many food stamps, they were selling them for 50 cents on the dollar to their other friends. So there's just the handouts are actually too much, because you can, and maybe that one person was gaming the system enough to where they could manipulate it, but therein lies the problem, because it's just a lot of waste.
There's so much waste, and a lot of this is from memory and growing up when there wasn't welfare, right? There wasn't welfare when I was young. There might have been, there were soup kitchens and soup lines, I guess, in the big cities and things like that. They might have had them in the smaller towns. I don't know. We didn't have to stand in a soup line, but I kind of remember people talking about that, oh, that's horrible, these people have to stand in line. No, it's not so horrible. Can you imagine the immigrants that came over, had nothing in their pocket, and got off that Ellis Island or whatever, and maybe somebody gave them a little bit of money just so they could get to the next block, but it wasn't to live off of.
Right.
And so I think we've become this full circle now. We're no longer helping people. Why? Why is it? It's lawyers, I think. Lawyers and politicians, a lot of them are the same. Lawyers become politicians, or a lot of politicians are lawyers. And they look for angles and how to work the system. So food stamps provided by the Department of Agriculture made sense when you were helping people that need it, because you give them blocks of cheese, and then it went from there to food stamps that the Department of Agriculture provided. That's where I think where they come from. So it's no longer helping the farmers, because they're just giving money out. And the original idea was to help a few people and help our farmers too.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how that changed, just to make it simpler and to make it fit in more urban settings where there wasn't maybe food readily available, so you give them food stamps.
Well, the politicians, if you've heard some of the appeals about this person and that person, it's so, we've heard it on the immigrations where they're separating families from kids from their parents, and boy, they really pour it on, get your heart feeling for those people. Well, I think it was the same thing with the welfare. We appeal to people when the same people are laughing at you that are getting in the food line there and buying lobsters with this thing. And I've heard this more than once from a person that was being held up in the food line, and they're looking at the lobsters and stuff that they're buying with their money, federal money, our money, and they're looking at what they have, and it's lunch meat and whatever. It's not right.
What else besides the welfare and the food and stuff is making us turn into socialism?
Well, medical, okay? Medical is very expensive. It's expensive because you're a business owner and you have employees, and you know how much insurance is. We know how much it is in our nonprofit, the center. We have to pay for it for our employees. So if you don't have any money, you don't have to worry about it. You do not have to worry about how much money it costs, what kind of a job you have to have. And then they get elective surgeries under some of that stuff. Make some ugly people look good just because they got no money. I mean, it's stupid. And people are going to think I'm really hard, whatever. I kind of am in some regards, because when I was a company commander in Vietnam and we had draftees, I had soldiers in my command that I know had nothing where they came from. And then I had some that were kicked out of college or something, or they flunked, and they're from probably well-to-do families. They're on the battlefield and they're fighting together. The same people had the same wants, the desires, and the same desire to live and to raise families and do that. So they're the same people, but somewhere we have made it not American to it's un-American to let somebody struggle. What is struggling? It's an adverse situation. We can't deal with adversity. Why is the suicide rate so hard? If we put people to work and they restore the pride or enough pride that they want to avoid the shame of failure instead of just killing themselves, I think we can solve a lot of these problems. So you asked about other things, and I think healthcare is a number one. And we talked about immigration a couple times, many times, as a weakness of our infrastructure and our readiness, but also it's a weakness in our economy. Bringing people in, giving them money creates inflation. You know, I got a degree in economics, and I don't know what I learned in that class, but I do know one thing, that if you give people money and they don't have to work, then it doesn't matter what the price is, right? They didn't work for it. So they'll just buy a bunch of it at any price because it's not their money.
No value.
No value. You said it right. So that's that. The other thing is there's no consequences for poor behavior in the streets, gangs and whatever. We're letting people take less than $1,000 in some states or some areas. I've heard that, and to get what they want. And again, who pays, who suffers? It's the businesses, and they raise their prices, and then the working people pay. More inflation. We got to get a handle on this thing. You know, there's a former Soviet Union. You know the acronym USSR. You know what that means?
I do.
All right.
You want me to recite it, or are you going to?
Just go ahead and do it.
I think it's the United Soviet Socialistic Republic.
Yeah. Okay. So think about this, Brad. We're a United States, and they were united countries, you know, republics of different eastern area, and we're become socialists, and we're a republic, democratic republic. But what, you know, I don't want to throw that out there and tell everybody I think we're a bunch of communists. No, we're not. But I do think that acronym, as far as the socialism part, fits. And then we're a republic because it's run as a republic. And I don't want to see us go that way.
Yeah, well, socialism leads to communism. That's the...
Well, I think the enforcement of socialism is communism, the enforcement of it. It's the republic that puts the hammer down on people. So in order for, let's put it this way, and we're not talking about a solution here. I don't have a solution except just don't give people stuff they didn't earn and send them out because they're overwhelming our infrastructure, you know, the ones that are coming here illegally. And I'm tired of hearing all this. We're a nation of immigrants. The whole world can move around pretty freely. And there's people coming here. They're not going to other places generally. Maybe some of the socialistic countries in Europe, that's where they're flocking to because the money's easy. Ireland, we've been hearing the news lately. Oh, they've got a problem, and they're standing tough now, I think. And
I didn't. What happened there?
oh man, the Irish are rebelling politically right now, and about the immigrants, ones that have come in, are ahead of the line on all services above Irish residents.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing that people talk about that. I don't know what the facts are, but I don't think those people are lying. And the Irish are pretty feisty people.
Yeah. Well, they got Rosie O'Donnell now, so maybe she can solve some problems.
Maybe she caused it. But she's that's one of the best things that happened to us.
Yeah,
it should be about a couple, million more like her.
Good trade
going somewhere else, but
she's gonna drink all our Guinness.
Oh yeah. Up the Irish, I love that. The Irish, but so here we got a country that was very generous. It's very religious, between the Catholics and the Protestants, and they very, very religious that way. And so I think they were kind and wanting to reach out to immigrants, and all of a sudden as you become kind, reach your hand out, and pretty soon you're overwhelmed. You put honey in the woods, and you're not going to get one bear. You might get a bunch of them, for the free handout. So we're no different than the wild animals in the woods. Everybody wants a free ride, or every creature makes it easy for them. But so what other we got? We got education is pretty much socialistic, because they preach that to the kids about what's good or bad.
Yeah, that's where you can infiltrate and win hearts and minds when they're young and impressionable. So some of those ideals that get instilled in the schools is not great. They're trying to rewrite history. That's the real problem.
Yeah, and I loved history in school. My history teacher here in Pueblo, Mrs. Hunt, she really, I don't know why, I really liked history, because history is, in my mind, my young mind, was factual. It's a danger. You got young minds taking things that aren't factual, aren't real, but they're it's hard to erase it or correct it. And when they go back or go up through their education, their maturing process, I don't think they shake that unless they go to work and get a job and see that, how it works, capitalism, how it works. I'm a strong believer in capitalism. I had a kind of a liberal person says, well, we like the word entrepreneurship better than capitalism. I thought, what the hell's the difference?
Same thing in my mind.
I don't know the difference, but it's a word, and capitalism has a smack to it that's kind of raw.
What did they find negative in the word capitalism?
It's just because it's kind of, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out for me to get ahead in in the mind of some of these weird thinking people. I can't do it. I mean, you're asking a lot. But why is capitalism a bad word? But I think it's because it kind of suggests winning and losing, failing and winning or losing. And entrepreneurship just means you can get along and all work and be happy. I don't know, but you can.
Entrepreneurship means that you have ideas and you're implementing your ideas. That makes you an entrepreneur. Whereas capitalism means I'm going to capitalize on somebody else. And then that means, like you said,
that's a good way of putting it. And it's kind of a harsh word to capitalize on somebody else. But
it's just
a successful entrepreneur becomes a capitalist, really, because they like it. They like money.
Successful entrepreneur is a capitalist.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. And we get people that, what I think is a big problem is we got people coming to this country, that are coming from poorer countries, or they are on the low end of the scale in their country, so they're not getting enough. And the communications like this phone I got here, people can Google no matter where they are about the good life in America, and this is where we need to come because they're giving us money. But when did it start? When did socialism kind of start? Did it start with Social Security, kind of?
You're talking about in the United States?
In the United States, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's when it started.
And
Maybe
before, but I'm one of these guys that knew that someday we're going to get Social Security because I always heard about it. When I was in the Army, we paid into it.
Who implemented Social Security? FDR?
Boy, you got me. I think it might have been right around there. Yeah.
Wasn't he considered the
I think
that was kind
somebody will
of doing
call
the
in and
handouts
tell
and
us.
stuff?
But
yeah, they'll let us know.
That time
How dumb
frame,
we are.
But that time, we're talking about something we don't know anything about.
Yeah.
But I do know a lot about some things and nothing about some things. But what I believe that when we started the idea of Social Security, might have been an okay idea, right, when it started, because not everyone can be responsible for their future, right? I mean, so they work 20, 30 years, and they don't have the ability, their mindset to plan for the future, put money away. They just don't. Okay. And so they're going to be in the soup lines if, or fail if we don't take care of them. I can see how that got started, but looking back on it, I don't know if it was a good thing.
No, it's a problem. It's a 100% problem because first of all, it's not a good investment. Mm-hmm. They don't give you back nearly what you saved, so you're getting kind of hosed. You're loaning Uncle Sam your money out of your paycheck bi-weekly for your whole career, and then they give you a little bit of it. They give you this money, and it's just a nanny state. It's the government playing Big Brother over you. And the sell of it is, when you're of age to where you cannot work any longer, you're going to be glad you have this little stipend of money you're going to get, which I'm sure it's very nice to get. Oh, wow, look, I got this money that I saved my whole life. But it wasn't a good investment.
And it wasn't. It's not even a lot of money,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it was, and even if it, like, in other words, being able to self-direct your own money, even if they were forcing you to save. Hey, you're working, you're going to save because you're an American, and we know you're going to need this money later. You should still be able to self-direct your investment.
I agree with that. But so let's say you're a young 20-year-old in the workforce, and you have a family. You started early and you got a family, and somebody says, okay, you got to pay Social Security, but you have to manage it yourself. And so you pay your whatever it is, whatever they deduct. I don't know what it is now, the percentage. And so somebody gets in there and says, I shouldn't have to do that. It's my money.
Right.
Some lawyer will take the case and...
Well, it's their money anyway. I mean, just the whole withholding. Plus, it's created a whole industry of, for accounting and just to deal with it, the submittal, just the work on the employer to withhold the money, submit the money, put the money, and they've just completely squandered all the money that they collect.
Yeah.
It's just not even. I mean, that's why it's somewhere in the national debt somewhere. But then, and they say that it's going to be broke. How many times you've been threatened with that it's going broke? And
we've passed that milestone many times.
Yeah, people my age won't even see which is complete horse crap. If you paid in it your whole life, then you don't even get your money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, if they're giving the money away,
it's another tax
to people that never worked, then that's the biggest drain on Social Security, whether it's coming from that pot or not. I think some of it is, because I was in a Social Security office before I was Social Security eligible. which is about 20 years ago. And I went to accompany a friend of mine down in New Mexico. He needed a little help to get around. Military guy, retired. And he was just going there to see where, get his Social Security. He needed it. So I'm sitting there while he went into the interview room, and I watched no less than a half a dozen people pull in to the parking lot, walking up, come through the door. They're in their 20s, limping once they get in the door. So they're on trying to get disability. It's a system, and it's screwed up.
Yeah.
And
it makes people have to fake to limp to go get their handout.
Yeah,
it just makes everybody, it's just a broken. And to think that you can actually limp into the place and the guy looks at you, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna give you the check, means it's really screwed up.
Well, and the other thing, and I'm, I really, I lived in New Mexico for a while, and I have great respect for the locals there, the Hispanics. So I've got good friends and all that, so I'm not anti-Hispanic. But let me tell you, there were people walking in there, 20 years old, that could not speak English, and they had interpreters for them, and they're getting Social Security because they got hurt on the job. Maybe on day 1 or 2 or whatever. Something's wrong with that system.
Yeah.
And
you
good
get that
friend.
benefit through Social Security?
What's that?
You get those disability benefits through Social Security?
Me?
No, they just people.
Oh yeah. If you get hurt on the job, you get disability from Social Security.
Well, I just thought you called one of those lawyers and here's my wreck, here's my check.
Well, you know right. And they'll say that they won't get paid until you do. So I don't know how much you get out of that when the lawyer gets your money,
well,
gets you some money, but
through their workers' comp, they sue your workers' comp.
And
that's another thing. You pay workers' comp, and then you pay more workers' comp when there's claims. So it's just another forced tax.
Yeah, but I don't have a solution, Brad, for people that are, let's say they're good Americans, they're average intelligence, married, and don't have any concept of how to invest money. I know that we got to figure out some way to deal with that.
Right. Well, that's called education too.
Well, whether
you should be learning that in your economics class in high school.
Well, yeah. Well, whether you have a withholding and you just invest it, and it should be in their name. It's their money.
Yeah, be like a pension.
And I think they can come up with an investment that won't lose. It may not gain anything.
Yeah, I mean, and you could probably choose as your, choose. There's a lot of things you could. It's just like when you're doing your IRA at your company or your 401k, you can choose your level of exposure. Do you want to be in equities and bonds or this or that? And they usually advise you very conservatively, because most people who, if they own their house or they've got good equity in their house, that's a bond proxy right there, real estate. Mm-hmm. So most people, the biggest thing they got is their home, or the equity they have in their home. So even if they have a $300,000 or $400,000 in equity in a house, say, if they have $300,000 or $400,000 in a pension, you're already 50% in a bond with your wealth because of what's in your house. So you can be more aggressive with those investments.
Yeah, but I know, Brad, and you're a successful businessman, and I've heard you. You're a pretty smart guy too.
I don't know about that.
But what about the people that absolutely aren't, didn't go to school, or they can't manage their money? Do we just say, well, that's too bad? I don't know. I'm looking for an answer.
Well, I think that's where those programs come in. The government says, hey, we're going to have to help you out. Not everybody can do. So they come up with these programs. The problem is they cannot administrate the programs because of politics. And when politics
Yeah.
plays in, so then every few years somebody comes in, has a better idea. Oh, you know what we're going to do now? We're going to do it this way. And then nothing changes, nothing gets better. And ironically, as they're trying to help because they're smarter than you, they mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
They mess
Well,
it up.
I think Brett, you mentioned what the cause of this is: the politicians.
No doubt.
Because they have no skin in the game. Even if they ran an election with the idea they're really going to help people, and by the time they get into the bureaucracy and see how it works, they can't. They're neutered.
But people that work with, I mean, I'm sure they get assistance on how to manage their pensions and their things if they're in the union or, I know a lot of guys that have their money and they're always wondering, hey, should I take my pension out? They'll ask me, and I'll be like, no, you got to stay with what you got, because I know they don't necessarily know how to buy and sell stock and trade and do things like that. Not everybody has to be a entrepreneur with their finance type of person
Yeah,
to
Warren
be able to
Buffett,
build
yeah.
wealth.
Well, I know more than 2 or 3 people that have changed maybe government jobs where they paid into a retirement and left the job and took the money out and blew it or whatever. So,
But isn't that the American dream too? You
Yeah.
made the money. You want to go buy a boat or a houseboat or or 3 houses or whatever. If you blow it, you blow it. That's too bad. But those are the risk rewards of freedom.
But here's the other thing that really annoys me: the politicians. How many times have you heard them say they're attacking the middle class, or we're gonna? Who's in the middle class? Who is that? When I was in high school, and we had social. What do you call it? Sociology.
Yeah, sociology.
No, social
studies.
Social studies. We had low, middle, and upper class. Low, middle class, middle, and upper middle. Okay, I understood that. Now they just use the term middle class, and they get people all riled up because they're not in the middle class, or they're going after the middle class. And people say, well, I'm in the middle class, maybe. Yeah. And so they're going to help you by helping the middle class. But let me tell you, if everybody's in the damn middle class and you got politicians and a few down here that are sick or lame or lazy, very few, and you have everybody in the middle class, what is that? That's socialism, pretty much. It's everybody right here. And to keep them in that, say you're attacking the middle class, that's the masses.
That's where the voters are.
That bothers me.
But when you can group somebody like that too, that's where they appeal to voters.
Well, shit,
votes.
hell, we're bringing in. We were. I think the administration is doing a damn good job of slamming that door shut. But we were bringing in people and trying to put them in the middle class. Immigrants that never worked in their life. Some of the monthly amounts that I've heard they were getting are staggering, more than someone that works can get. So
maybe somebody smarter than us can explain the economics to us of why that would trickle properly, trickle down, trickle up, trickle left, trickle right.
Are you giving people money for not?
Trying to figure out what because somebody smarter than us is the one that's quarterbacking these initiatives, I would think, unless it's just the blind leading the blind.
It's also greed. There's a lot of people that claim to be that are against illegals coming in and all that. I've heard the dialogue. You have too, but they own big businesses and they maybe cell phone companies or whatever. Man, they're raking it in because the government is buying cell phones and giving to the people, quote, so they can be connected. What do they need to be connected for? I like to give mine away, really. But no, this is a tough subject, but I do not want to see this country becoming a union of Soviet socialist states or republic, and of sorts, and we're getting it corrected now. This big budget that was passed, I don't think they're explaining a couple things good enough. That it took a lot of money to. It's going to take a lot of money to remove people that came to the country illegally. It's going to take a lot of money to ramp up the immigration process that is what we want, a fair one. With 20 million people in there and you get rid of 1,000 a day or 5,000 a day, 100, that's 1 million and something a year, 5,000 a day, 1.5 million or whatever.
Yeah,
They'd never get it because
No.
they're spawning new ones.
Yeah,
The ones that are here are having families, and
I think they all know it's going to be impossible.
yeah, and they're not helping. But what I worry about is the people that really believe in socialism, that think that's the answer. I don't even understand where they're coming from. It's hard for me to understand that because we've got a few politicians that are self-proclaimed socialists. Bernie Sanders, right? He's a socialist. Hell, about this new guy in New York.
Yeah, that one's crazy.
It's crazier than hell. But in a lot of ways, I'm thinking it's good that he was running. It'll bring some heat. There's some Democrats that are trying to fund his removal, or
Well, he's radical. He is.
Oh, you can't give everybody everything they want.
But see, he's young and he's got energy, and young people like him, and he dances, and
He doesn't believe that stuff either.
No, that's what I'm saying. But he appeals to people. He's a good salesman on what he's selling, and he looks happy, and he's all this stuff, and
We're going to give you everything. Like I said before, I remember when I was in third grade, they had a civics test, kind of where you're going to have an election. And I remember the guy that said, one guy said, well, I'm going to do something with water fountains, and the other guy's going to give ice cream. Guess who won? The guy that's going to give ice cream, and he won it. But ice cream, my friends, no matter how much you get, you can't eat it all, and it will melt. And then when you have, you got nothing.
Were you running against him? Is that what you said, or no?
No, I didn't.
You weren't running for.
I wasn't interested in that kind of stuff. I just whatever. But this has been a good topic. We don't have solutions, but the bottom line is, I firmly believe that we're very socialistic, and the states that were demanding money from the federal government are spending money to give to non-citizens and expecting the rest of the government, federal government, to continue funding them. And I think hands off if they're going to give money illegally or to someone that's illegal. I kind of think we need to just open the door and send them out. I don't care if someone's working hard and they want to send their money to Mexico. I don't have a problem with that at all if they're working.
Yeah.
But we talked before about having a work visa of some kind or work hard. They can work, but once they don't have that job.
I'm sure there's a lot of citizens that don't work too.
Well, there's a lot of citizens that don't work.
Don't work either.
And the other thing, I get tired of somebody in their 60s saying they're retired now. Well, I'm 80. I still kind of work. And, somebody told me one time, he was making a joke, and he said, I think the system's upside down. You go to college or high school, college, or degree, whatever, and then you go on vacation till you hit 45 or 50, and then you work till you die. Have fun when you're young, go do it, and work till you die. Man, that's a solution.
No, that's what happens,
But no, I hope people start to take note that the difference in what we're giving to some people does not make you a conservative. If you're giving them maybe half of what the more generous people, the liberals or the folks want to give, and we give them less. We're arguing the price. We're not arguing the whether we're socialistic or not.
It's a mentality, though, in the end, because if you don't like handouts, and and if you go somewhere and somebody always wants to buy your lunch for you, but then you start feeling weird, like, hey, I got the next one. If you don't have that conviction to where you want to participate, hey, I'm going to work, and always just want the free ice cream. If somebody's giving free ice cream, maybe don't take a cone this time. Maybe it's like, yeah, you know what, I don't need that free ice cream. But it's hard to turn it down, I guess.
So, but a closing thought is that even reinforces the fact that we're socialistic. Is this right now a time in our history might be the easiest time to get a job of some kind, because people want too much to work, and they're not willing to give up their time to start at the bottom.
Yeah.
But if they start at the bottom and they're working in private sector, and the business owner's there to make money, they're going to bump you pretty darn fast if you perform for them. But the fact that we're fighting this opportunity that we have, that the easiest time to get a job is now, because we're fighting it because there's so much freebie money out there. That's the conflict I see.
That's what you're competing against.
It's a competition that it's hard to argue with for some of these people that say, "Oh, I'm going to take it all I can,"
Well, they lose the benefit too when they get the job. So the system's so broken that there's no incentive to because the way you hit a threshold and then you're cut off, that if you're right there on the cusp,
we talked
poverty,
talked about that before, and about these vaqueros down there in New Mexico when they weren't going to work, and one of them quit or said he can't work anymore because he's at that $10,000 threshold.
Yeah,
that's crap, And he was a good guy.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
And I can see when you're selfishly in it and you're looking and going, well, I can do nothing, or I can take this new job and make less and pull 40 hours a week.
Nobody wants to be called stupid. And that's kind of what it amounts to.
Yeah.
But to put up with that is tolerating poor behavior, and just remember, tolerance is a character flaw.
Just because no one knows doesn't mean it isn't true.